in eastern Congo has exacerbated tensions between the two countries. Kinshasa accuses Rwanda of lying about its motives.
When should we believe what Kigali says? When, along with the international community, it accuses us of supporting FDLR forces, which you've heard before. Or when it tries to rouse Congolese public opinion, as they tried to do yesterday, against the government, by suggesting that a secret agreement exists authorizing the presence of Rwandan troops in the DRC after Rwanda attacked our country?
The Democratic Republic of Congo's government signed up to an agreement between the two countries and in 2008 launched a joint operation to clear FDLR Hutu forces out of the country's eastern regions. 4 years later, the DRC says Rwanda's withdrawal is being used to disguise the smuggling of troops out of the country who were in fact helping M23 rebels, a rebellion backed by Kigali, who controls part of the region. The Congolese opposition seized the opportunity to attack their head of state.
Details of this agreement must be made available to those elected by the people. We've not been properly informed of the agreement, despite the fact that it concerns the surveillance of our borders. We cannot run a republic like this.
Around 20 opposition parties are citing Articles 165 and 166 of the Constitution, calling for a parliamentary congress that would put President Kabila before the courts and try him for treason.
Syria's bustling commercial city of Aleppo is now a war zone. The fight to keep control of the city is intensifying. Activists say nearly 260 people died on Wednesday. Reports also emerge of the death of some 54 people across the country. All this week, CNN's Nick Barton-Walls has been taking us inside the battleground city of Aleppo, where he follows a rebel unit as they fight block to block.
The new dead lie next to the old. Aleppo's old city, thousands of years in the making, but torn apart fast. We're with rebel forces as they push into vital terrain in the fight for Syria's commercial capital towards a key police station. They mass in number and surge forwards. Chaos, but also bravery. They move to retrieve an injured rebel at the very front. Somehow, the superior regime firepower lets them escape with their wounded. When we rejoin them a few days later, they have fallen back the 100 feet they gained. Civilians in uniform, they're taking pot shots at nothing in particular, goading their enemy with revolutionary song, even offering them a number to call if they want to defect. But they can't advance again. It's not just the regime's bomber jets that hold them back. Up on the roof, we see how snipers, deadly accurate here, can freeze the front lines.
In this historic part of the city, the rebels are trying to inch forward, but so often pushed back by government forces, in this case held back by a government sniper positioned in the buildings opposite us.
Even from the rebel sniper positions, the regime is close but well dug in. Abdul Wahib was a conscript years ago, but is now an electrician. A sniper is shooting at them, and he moves across the road to take him out. But his discipline and marksmanship is the exception. He thinks he got him. It's the older men here who are in charge. Hakim, a local commander, briefly visits and tells me his brigade has given up on outside help from the west. This is our final word, he says. We don't want any help from anybody. We're no longer waiting, and we have the means to topple the regime. He outlines a plan to the men. Shortly afterwards, this bus appears. One rebel tells us they plan to fill it with explosives, then tie a prisoner's hands to the wheel and force him to die driving the bus bomb at the regime. But even though we saw the brigade take prisoners earlier, that doesn't happen here, and the bus leaves. A garbage truck arrives instead, which they plan to place down the street as cover for their gunmen. Preparations build for an operation. Handmade grenades, homemade bombs, highly volatile canisters full of fertilizer explosives. But the men still lack focus. Have they got anybody actually on there? Shooting in the dark. Later that night we leave, but they drive the truck down the street. At dawn, it's in place in their old position.
Overnight, they've tried to gain the advantage by moving that dumper truck about 100 feet down the street past their last position. Still, these men have been unable to advance over this incredibly small amount of terrain.
The regime fires grenades, setting it alight. The rebels decide to fight back. This is an anti-aircraft gun. They seem to prefer noise to accuracy. They run forwards to fire a rocket-propelled grenade. There's too much smoke to know what they hit. More a game here than a fight to the death. But this is a city of millions, torn apart by every pitched battle for every 100 feet. Nick Walsh, CNN.
We now take a second break. We'll be right back.
What's your AfriCell number?
773.
What's your mobile number?
735.
What's your AfriCell number?
746.
What's your number?
My number is 215. 2?
You mean 72?
No, it's 2, and I am AfriCell 2.
AfriCell 2? Hey, hey!
Yes, 2 is AfriCell 2.
Hey, hey!
AfriCell introduces the new AfriCell series, the number 2.
Welcoming the number 2 to the AfriCell family.
From now on, the AfriCell lines will not only start with the number 7, but also with the number 2.
Get a new AfriCell SIM card now that starts with the number 2.
So now I can get an AfriCell number that starts with the number 2?
Yes, and when you receive a call from a number starting with the number 2, it's one of the new AfriCell lines calling you. My mobile number is 2, and
we are AfriCell 2!
Welcome back. 2 of Cameroon's 5 boxers who failed to return home after the Olympics have started training in a South London gym. The duo, who are legally entitled to remain in the UK until November, cited professional reasons for their actions. We have more on them and 2 of their countrymen, a swimmer and a footballer, who also failed to return to the Cameroon.
5 Cameroonian boxers disappeared from the Olympic Village in London. Now, Blaise Yep-Momendua and Thomas Essumba are no longer in hiding. They've begun training at a gym in South London.
The Olympics were great, but they were a ticket to become what we really desire, because we want to be professional boxers, and we've opted for England. Even ahead of the Olympics, we had chosen England.
But there was no indication that Blaise and Thomas were planning to defect when we filmed them training in Cameroon last June. Just a slight hint of frustration when they spoke of their federation's lack of means. The athletes are hoping the British authorities will look favorably on their situation and grant them residence.
This is not about money. It's about making more money for this country too. If they give us an opportunity, we'll earn money. We just want professional titles. World titles are what we are interested in, not money.
A Cameroonian swimmer and footballer also decided to defect. The athletes are legally entitled to stay in the United Kingdom until November, when their Olympic accreditation expires.